Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And good afternoon, everyone, to the Marketing Gem. We're 24 hours late due to a problem beyond our control, technical problem that is, but we're glad that you can join us today, and welcome on this week's Link for Growth sponsored program. We have a panel of experts, as usual, talking about issues to do with marketing and digital issues to do with SME, digital marketing issues to do with SMEs. And this week we're talking about reputation. Several companies have been in the news recently, such as FIFA and the VW Group. They've become under worldwide scrutiny for various behaviours and patterns of behaviours in the way that they're run. This has done irreversible damage to their reputations. But as a smaller SME, do you have to think about your reputation and where does reputation cease to become, if at all, does it cease to become an important issue? As usual, if you want to get in touch with us, you can through our Twitter account, which is @themarketinggem, @themarketinggem, and as usual, I'm joined by 3 other experts, and Jonathan is with us as usual, and Jonathan has a wealth of experience in the marketing world working for various advertising agencies for some of the world's biggest companies. Jonathan.
Hi there. Thank you very much for inviting me to take part today. Hopefully everyone will find this, the discussion valuable, and please remember to Twitter in and add your comments and also give us some feedback. We've been doing this for sort of like 4 weeks, and I'm not aware of a huge amount of feedback yet. My Twitter handle, I believe, isn't on my bottom third, which was part of our technical issue, but it is MMAJ5Derby. So if you want to send a Twitter through to that, I'd be very grateful to receive them. And yes, my background is brands like Canon, but also Chevron, Texaco, Colgate, Palmolive, Pedigree, Heinz, Mercedes-Benz, Hyundai, Kia on a global basis. So yes, I've shifted most things from high-end motor cars to about as low-end as you can get with lower GI products. Anyway, you can come back to me for either corporate advice or SME advice anytime you like. Many thanks.
Okay, and Kevin, you have an expertise in digital marketing and digital media.
Yes, I do. Lots of it based in video production, but reputation something that concerns us. My Twitter handle is @KLynchK. I too welcome any queries, any searches for counsel, and if I don't know the answer, certainly we'll be able to post you and connect you with someone who can.
Okay, that's great. And finally, we have Alan Livingston from B2B Marketing. Alan has a background in marketing for several large companies in the life science sector, but has also done a lot of work with SMEs and startups. Hi, Alan, and welcome.
Hi, Diane. Thanks for inviting me along. Yes, I've been in marketing now for well over 20 years and have been with some of the largest organizations in life science, as well as small startup businesses as well. And like the others, my Twitter handle is not visible either. You can get hold of me at, I don't know if you see the sign behind me, B2B Growth. So it's at B2B Growth. You can get hold of me. And I'm looking forward very much to today's discussion, and if there's anything we can pass on to any of the small businesses out there that will help them become successful, I'd very much enjoy doing that.
Okay, well what we'll do is we'll put all the Twitter links and connections underneath the video after the show as well, so that if you haven't got them. Okay. Over the past 12 months, the reputation integrity of numerous large companies such as VW, several major international banks and FIFA have made worldwide headlines as various allegations of malpractice have come under the glare of the world's business news organization. This scrutiny of business practices It's not just restricted to commercial organisations. In the UK, several large charities have come under similar scrutiny, particularly using professional fundraisers. The tactics some of them have used to raise funds. What were once trusted brands are now considered to be less reputable than they once were. There's a significant impact on sales and their brand reputation. So on today's Marketing Gem, we discuss how important it is for a SME, reputation and integrity, how important they are when marketing an organisation. Is it an issue only for large companies and organisations, or do SMEs have to think about their reputation when marketing themselves? Can smaller independent traders just shut up shop when their reputation is damaged? And how big does a company have to be to consider its reputation? Jonathan, perhaps you could start us off on this. I know you've got some views on this.
Okay. Well, the first thing to say is go back to basics. Every action that you take has an impact on your marketing. So you're better off maintaining the best possible reputation that you can at all times and treat every opportunity to shine. I think it's very important to remember that regardless of promotion, advertising and everything else, to be honest, over 90% of your new business or business will come from your reputation and from other people's word of mouth. So whatever you do, remember it is paramount to the success of your business. I think I'll hand over to other people to make their comments on that.
Okay, Kevin.
For me, reputation and integrity, they're the secret sauce. If you have a small business and you want to grow it into a large business, in my experience, the biggest challenge is getting the integrity thing right. Lots of small businesses find this really challenging. It's not, they know how to develop the product, they know how to look after their customers, the service is brilliant, but how do they scale that up so that it works in not just in Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire, but in Lancashire and Dubai? The challenge there, part of scaling your business is making sure that in your culture of your organisation, the values that underlie it mean our reputation is first. And as you mentioned in the introduction, the biggest scandals and the biggest challenges for businesses to deal with are those where there's been an integrity deficit. So I shall pass over to Alan.
Okay, Alan, and perhaps you make your introductory comments.
I think we're all going to be singing from the same hymn book in this one. I would agree 100% with what the others have said, and building on what Kevin said, reputation comes from the integrity. If you don't have integrity, you won't have a very good reputation. In small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, reputation is everything. It's built up over weeks, months, and years, but can be lost in minutes, as we've seen. So, I, for one, especially with the small businesses who are maybe relying more on word of mouth to get new customers, reputation potentially is the greatest asset that they should have.
Okay, so there's some general agreement there, but of course, whilst everyone likes to think they have a great reputation, they wouldn't do anything necessarily to damage it per se. Mistakes do happen and everything. So, Kevin, what would you say would be the first rule a small company or small organisation should do if it makes a mistake to start repairing its reputation?
It's like everything else in life. If you make a mistake, fess up. The sooner, the better. Part of the biggest, right back to when I was a kid with Nixon, the biggest problem is never the problem itself, it's the cover-up and the actions that you do. So good companies know this sort of thing happens, and they tend to have a plan, a generic plan, and you'll find that that's one of the things that distinguishes good companies, great companies. Look at the horrible accident that happened at Alton Towers last spring. The guys at Merlin realized this was a serious matter for the business. Chief executive was on the TV straight away saying, I don't know what's happened here. It's obviously terrible. We're going to help these people as best we can, knowing that he's facing large costs in terms of legal bills and stuff. Immediately made payments to families and stuff, and took a lot of the heat and anger out of the issue. For me, that's one of the best textbook examples of how to recover from a disaster. People have been injured, seriously injured, almost killed using your product. How do I deal with that situation? Those guys had a great plan for it.
Okay, so Jonathan, would you say the answer is always just to say yes, it's us, it's our problem, and just throw money at the solution?
Well, obviously, if you're an SME, the chances are you haven't got a vast amount of money to throw at the solution. However, you must take action, take responsibility, and have someone there who is accountable for what's being said. Probably one channel of communication rather than allowing every member of staff to chip in to anyone who'll listen. There are times, sort of someone may have got themselves into a difficult position. Whether you as the owner of the business knew about it or not up front isn't really that relevant. Initially, probably the best thing to do is, as the representative of the company, be the front man and represent what's going on. Take, if necessary, the person or persons who have caused the problem out of the line of sight, even if you have to put them to one side or whatever for a period of time. But deal with it. Don't let it fester. It depends on the size of the problem. Sort of most issues that come up may just be something like a not very positive response to something on a Twitter feed or something like that. But if you address it quickly and get on top of it and aim to have a positive resolution, the chances are it won't grow into something nasty. I mean, we've got Volkswagen and FIFA, etc., as great examples of when it all goes very badly wrong. But actually, the vast majority of these things don't happen on that scale.
No, of course, it's a case of we're using those as big examples to highlight the smaller issue. So, Alan, when you've been advising SMEs, what would be your kind of recommendation? Would it also just be to fess up, or would it be, and would it then be to, if it were to say yes, it's our fault? Would you then say, okay, do it behind closed doors, or make sure that everyone can see that the issue has been addressed and do it openly and publicly?
I mean, really, you're not going to really say anything different from what the other two have said, in that you can't brush things under the carpet because they won't go away in this digital age. Perhaps if I maybe turn it round a bit, because otherwise I'll just be saying the same as the others have already said. One of the things that I would say, and I've certainly been giving some local businesses here where I am this sort of advice, is go online, see what other people are saying about you. I mean, there's a local hostelry not far from me, and he's got some terrible reviews on things like TripAdvisor. He doesn't do anything about them. He doesn't believe in them. There's another one not too far away who every time he gets a poor review on TripAdvisor, straight in there answering every single question, and inviting the person back and to make himself known to him the next time they come in, and the sort of difference between the two is quite amazing. And consequently, the one who is answering all these questions is by and large getting them much more favourable reviews, and consequently their reputation is much higher. Now, there are other sites available where you can find out what people are saying about you, but that's probably the best thing to do, is find out what your customers are saying about you and nip any problem in the bud bud before it starts, and that way you're not only solving a potential problem that you've got, but you're also building your reputation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting what you should say about doing online searches and everything. That's what whenever people ask me about, well, how do I know about my reputation? I say, do an online search, and say, well, we haven't got any web presence. But of course, they don't need to actually have a web presence themselves, do they, Kevin?
No, no. Although certainly in the world of the internet, having your own domain and having your own generic website is a good place to start, because the search engines will give that enormous, it'll give it enormous rank to. So that when your name comes up, that's one of the first things that will come up. I certainly recommend, if you haven't already, try using things like Google Alerts. Put your name in, and then when your name pops up somewhere on the internet, you'll get some feedback. Alan's advice about engaging with detractors on social media is very important. I echo everything he says. Very important not to get dragged into a slanging match with people. Best to acknowledge that their feedback is genuine and sincerely felt, and say that you're disappointed to hear that. Please give us another opportunity. Please come back, let me know, and we'll do our best to ensure the experience is as we would expect it to be for you. That's the positive way of doing it. Any other strategy tends to lead to embarrassing incidents. Famously, there was the hotel in Blackpool that was adding a charge for when people were posting negative reviews of the hotel on TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor seems to be very problematic because the set of people that are posting on TripAdvisor are internet savvy, and they're posting about places where they're just not social media internet savvy, and that's why a lot of the pain occurs. So if you're in a sort of public hospitality business and you're struggling with TripAdvisor, best to just ask some of the teenage kids about how social media works that they'll give you some good advice. Otherwise, if you've got a specific problem, tweet into @themarketinggem, and we'll certainly be able to give you some advice.
Okay, so Jonathan, beyond sort of checking for your online reputation on TripAdvisor and everything, how do you go about addressing complaints? I mean, obviously you've got to do it quickly, you've got to do it openly, but what other channels do you need to think about, or other things you need to think about when you're trying to repair your reputation?
I think you just, as publicly as possible, be seen to act fairly, and that doesn't mean just sort of going and, inverted commas, throwing money at the problem and saying here's some compensation or whatever, and try and use it a bit like that you feedback from any other consumer end of your business. Use it positively and demonstrate how you've used it to improve the customer experience of the business. So you can sort of also work on things to counter people's complaints in terms of calling in sort of facilities around you. If there are areas, if you're a restaurant and you can get other people to review your restaurant in the local newspapers or in the local internet equivalent of the local newspaper, and get people to start giving out positive reviews of you as much as anything. That doesn't mean that you don't address the person who has the negative point of view. You do that as well, but you can work on building positive publicity about yourself in all the existing and, inverted commas, future media environments. But treat it as a positive. Don't sort of go all defensive.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, you really have to sort of face up to things and front up to things. I would actually agree totally with what's already been said. again, maybe if I sort of change the direction a little bit, one of the things that that I find is really important in building reputations is not only using the internet and finding out what people are doing, as we've already discussed, but if you're in the type of business where you have, I don't know, say a plumber or a business which is a face-to-face contact with clients that come to you, or you're issuing quotations, if you don't get the business on a particular quotation, ask the person why not. Find out what it is that's stopping you from getting that business. So that's another alternative to the online things. So I believe that finding out from your customers is so important in building that integrity and building the reputation.
Okay. Well,
can I just jump in there? I would just want to say that was great advice from Alan about not just querying your customers, but people who've declined to be your customers. I also wanted to go back on the point that was made about in social media, don't just offer money and complimentary things. I would go so far as to say that's about the third thing that you need to do. The first thing, at the end of the day, if I have a problem in a shop or something, I say, oh, this packet of crisps was opened. The immediate reaction isn't just, oh well, here, have another packet of crisps. You go, oh, I'm really sorry about that. So the first step, when people are negative, is to say, I'm really sorry about this experience. How did it go wrong for you? And then when they explain to you about their disappointment, the source of that. I mean, classic example is there's a bakery that I'm very fond of, and they have their products sold in a leading supermarket chain, and I had a packet which I don't know, there was something wrong with it. I just sent them an email saying, just want you to know that this packet, there was a bit of some other material in the mix, and it's not really a problem for me. There was no problem. There was no concern. It's just that you should know that your manufacturing process, there was a defect in it. And straight away back comes in the post. A week later comes £10 in voucher stuff. I didn't want the money or anything. I just wanted to let them know that other people might have been having this problem, and that they were blind to them. And I was in fact a fan of the business, and I certainly didn't want the vouchers and stuff. So in the end, I gave them to my sister. But just be aware that people, as a business, you have a significant part in people's lives to play, and sometimes the relationship is just. It's about a human relationship, not just about money.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And just to say, you are watching the Marketing Gem, which is a Link for Growth TV show, and each week we discuss a issue related to marketing for small and medium enterprises, and you can catch us if you want to speak to us via Twitter on the @TheMarketingGem, @TheMarketingGem. Okay, so Alan, if you were just starting out, how would you go about ensuring that you build a good reputation?
Deliver on what you say. You really have got to. If you say you're going to do something, you must deliver on that. Because if you do not, and you come up short, people will start discussing it, and that's going to harm your reputation. Be consistent. That's another thing that you should probably be, so that people know where you stand. And another thing potentially would be to sort of check frequently what others are saying about you as well. But maybe I should hand over to Jonathan and ask him, and maybe have a look at your chat, Jonathan.
Yeah, so Jonathan,
carry on.
Okay, I would. You heard Alan talking about doing the right thing, delivering what you say you'll do, that sort of thing. But for a lot of SMEs, there are conflicting pressures, aren't there, to do with time and things cropping up and having to do this instead of that and all the rest of it. So how would you manage that as an SME, your reputation?
I think you have to take on board, as I said before, sort of 90, maybe 95% of your future business is determined by word of mouth and effectively your reputation. So it is probably worth diarising at least 30 minutes a week for addressing how people see you in the media, etc. And that means, I think Kevin can probably sort of give a better timeline of how to do it, but it does mean going out and getting feedback from things like Facebook or Twitter or wherever you choose to appear in social media. I know half an hour is a lot of time for some things, but I do think it's really very, very important that you do work at maintaining a good a good presence, particularly in this age of instant transfer of opinion through the internet and through various websites and things like that. So I think it's worth the investment, and it's worth sort of building off that investment. We talked earlier in the series of programs about sort of the marketing audit and talking to your consumers, and part of doing this and part of taking at least half an hour a week out to sort of review things is equally getting feedback from your consumers, because you can then build it back into the virtuous circle that provides you with a better product and a better consumer experience in the future.
Yes, I mean, I think what you're saying is quite important about the internet and everything. We'll discover from Kevin how you can monitor all that sort of thing. But of course, it's really important that if you are an SME and you belong to networking groups, that you speak to your colleagues in the same network, isn't it, Alan? So that you kind of get not only the virtual impression, but you also get the kind of face-to-face feedback.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it is very important to speak to people in your network, get face-to-face feedback. I mean, it's not just that, though. It's get feedback wherever you can. You should always, as Jonathan said, set aside some time to check what others are saying about you, because if it's bad, you need to do something about it. If it's good, market that. Use that to spread your message even wider, because there is nothing works more than positive customer testimonials. So use these on your website. Use them. Use them in any communications that you have, or any advertising. It's not unremarkable that certain companies use the fact that 9 out of 10 customers prefer us or something, or users prefer us, because these are powerful messages.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kevin, what kind of tools are available to SMEs out there that they're not going to be necessarily internet experts? They're not necessarily going to understand all of the tools that are available out there. But if they just had to use 1 or 2 tools to check on their reputation, what are the easiest ones for them to get hold of and to use so they get alerts when people mention them online?
Obviously, Google Alerts. When you do a search for something, you can, if you're signed into Google, you can have an alert. There's a thing called a vanity search where you just search for the names, run those sort of things. All these things feed into a business discipline known as customer satisfaction. Alan is completely right. I know, customer satisfaction is a #1 marketing tool. A friend of mine, he in technology was starting up a business that was up against the likes of HP, Dell, and IBM, and he said there was no way on earth he could even go to a 20th of their marketing budget. So his marketing budget was very, very simple. Every customer that he had was a reference customer, and on that basis, he was able to build a very successful business very quickly. So customer satisfaction, do not underestimate the value of it and the power that it has in terms of taking your business forward. You know the saying, one person 100 will talk about a positive experience they've had with a company, but 99 out of 100 will tell people about their negative experiences. So really be tuned into that sort of thing, and as part of that, and that's where monitoring your internet presence and all that sort of thing, that all dovetails into a thing that I call customer satisfaction, and that is certainly worth half a day a week on collecting and managing your customer satisfaction, getting that feedback, actioning it, and doing things like that. It's certainly it's the best investment you can make for the future success of your company.
Okay, so Jonathan, we've talked a lot about testimonials and getting the right feedback and everything. Would you say that it's better to say get a handheld video held on a camera phone that then you put on your website than just say a letter that you then transfer the text across to your website? Do you think that carries more weight?
I would start off quite happily with the letters. Again, it depends on the business. But I mean, if you do interior design and decoration and things like that, yes, if you get the opportunity and the customer says, I'm really pleased with what you've done and I'll let you interview me and say something positive about you with the evidence of what the work you've done behind me, that is a very powerful tool. But all positive reference. Some people will like a video on a website because it gives them the feeling of content, but just positive letters that say that you have done good work for you, and it's had, I mean, it's a bit like the careers, not careers, LinkedIn, and they have endorsements and they have recommendations, and a recommendation on your LinkedIn is 10 times more powerful than an endorsement. And in a sense, getting people to write a positive letter about you is powerful. Getting people to sit in front of you while you video them in the right circumstance is even more powerful. But don't underestimate a good letter in the right environment could be worth, sort of 100 videos. Some of it's to do with your target audience, but I mean, if you're a solicitor and you're acting on behalf of someone who's writing their will, a good letter is going to work better than a short video. If you're trying to market a nightclub, then probably a good video and good content is going to be better than a letter.
Okay, that sounds fair enough. Alan, how important is sort of like maintaining a correct database to improve your reputation? So, for example, I know of a nursery where they collect the ages of the children, and then at the end of when it's the child's birthday, they always send out a birthday card to them. Now, the child doesn't necessarily, know the significance of that, but it does make an impact with the parents, doesn't it? Because that sort of thing is going to mean, oh yes, we're not, so and so is not just a number. He or she is a child, a special child, and they take care at this particular nursery.
I mean, other businesses do similar types of things. That's really all part of the customer service and the and building, what it is in delivering, maybe going that extra mile, as it were. So in your customer's eyes, they haven't asked for it, but it's something that it keeps you more top of mind with that particular group. So effectively, it is a way of improving your reputation with your customers. Although, to be honest, if you're being really cynical about it, it is a marketing tactic at the end of the day. But all these things are important. Do what you can to differentiate yourself. If that's helping to differentiate you from other people, or other organizations, great. But make sure you keep doing it, because what happens if you miss one of these kids out and don't get their birthday wrong, that's actually possibly going to be more damaging, because that particular child is going to be upset. It will upset the parents. So you have to make sure that your data is accurate and up to date. Whether it's the case of the childminder, the sort of preschool type organization that you're talking about, or if you are running a larger business or a different type of business that you may want to contact your customers from time to time. Make sure your information is up to date and accurate.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is one of the key points to, if you are doing your reputation and you want it to be enhanced. It is the good data can help build that reputation, can't it, Kevin?
Data integrity is a key part of the managing the customer relationship. With regard to the birthday thing, I would say there's a turning point now. When my birthday comes, all these organizations that I've had to disclose my date of birth to, they're all sending me birthday cards, and so I'm getting a bit sick of it. Do I really? It's like, for example, on Google Circles, it tells everyone when my birthday is, and there's people I hardly know, and they're saying, "Happy birthday, Kevin." I'm thinking, well, that all just seems a little bit cliched and forced. So, again, things like data integrity, data management, those things are key things to get right in the early phases of the business so that you can actually grow successfully. Quite a lot of small businesses sell out because they find the challenges of getting to the next level just too hard. And it's these things to do with managing data integrity, good processes, reputational integrity. These are the things that, as your business becomes quite successful and you've got 20 or 30 employees and you want to get to 60, 70, that's the point where you need to be starting about these concepts that MBA types like to go on to you about. Those things form barriers. It forms treacle to your growth. So if you're looking to, if you really want to go, double in the next 18 months, then part of that is, setting time and your best people on things like reputation management at this point. That's going to be your accelerator to your growth in your business.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I'm just using the birthday as an example now. Perhaps the 4-year-old Jonathan Darby would have liked an extra card, but maybe the 40-year-old wouldn't. I think it all depends on any gesture like that can easily backfire, can't it, Jonathan?
Yeah, to be honest...
Sorry, what I mean is it's got to be the right, appropriate gesture to help build the reputation.
This goes back to understand your target audience. So that's key to anything that you do in terms of business as well. But yes, target the right message, the right person at the right time. And when you get older and you get 40 or 50 different birthday wishes from people that basically you just owe money to because you're paying your electricity bill or your pension or your life insurance or whatever, that probably isn't the appropriate time to get a happy birthday wish. And by the way, your life insurance premium's going to go up this week because you've gone through another significant birthday. I mean, so think about how you use it. But never underestimate the amount of useful data that you probably hold about your customers in your business records. And go through them occasionally, because you'll find things like written testimonials. The sales department may even already have letters from people saying thank you very much for the work you did, it's been excellent, this, that and the other, and make use of it. The other thing is keep it fresh. think about it along the lines of your reputation really is only as good as the last job that you completed, and therefore, if possible, get some form of content or testimonial out of each of those jobs as you get to the point where people can complete, and you can say something and demonstrate the positive of what you've done, not just the finished result, but all the other things that went into doing it. I mean, again, it depends on the kind of business and how important that is to the next stage of your development, but always remember that your existing customers or your most recent customers are the best advocates for selling you into the future.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to jump in on what Jonathan was saying there. One of the businesses that I worked in, as part of our weekly management meeting, we had a very short agenda, but the first item on the agenda was testimonials, feedbacks from the customer, straight off. And once a quarter, we would try and get people to nominate the best examples of that. And there would be a little bit of employee reward and recognition based on that. It's not transformative in and of itself, but it sets the hallmark and it sets the tone of the business and of the things that you care about. So these things are not something that you do for 10 minutes on a Friday. They're things that you bake into the whole way you do your business.
Okay, well, this week so far, when we're talking about reputation, we've looked at a lot of different things. We've looked at data management, we've looked at reputation control, as it were, through monitoring through various digital media channels and so on and so forth. So let's just each name one thing that you consider to be the most important thing to build your reputation. So Alan, if you were an SME looking to build your reputation or maintain your reputation, what's the one thing that you would do that is bigger than all the things we've covered?
If you want him to maintain your reputation, what I would do is find out what others are saying about you online. Is it positive? If it's positive, use that in your marketing collateral. If it's negative, correct it, and you can still market it as well. And all that will do is add to your reputation. If you can solve potential problems, do not brush them under the carpet.
Okay, Jonathan, what would be the one thing that you would recommend if anyone said, "Oh, my reputation isn't right"? How would you say, "Okay, well, you've got to do this"?
I think have a positive mental attitude about it, and focus your activities on customer satisfaction. And it might not all happen in the first month, but over time, if you put customer satisfaction at a higher level of your priorities in your business, it will have a positive effect on the business.
Okay, that sounds great. And Kevin, what would be the one thing that you would recommend?
Very simply, listen to your customers and act on what they tell you.
Okay, I think that's pretty clear. Okay, so each week we talk about one tip of the week, and it doesn't necessarily have to relate to the subject we covered during the debate. Now, it may well be reputation based, it may be something completely different, and it's entirely up to the panel as to what they decide they're going to talk about. I can see Jonathan smiling on the monitor, so perhaps we'll start with Jonathan. What would be your one tip of the week?
Well, given the situation at our friends Volkswagen at the moment, just be careful what your suppliers give you to hand out. I mean, it sounds as though someone else may have contributed to their current situation and given them a bit of a Pandora's box. And unfortunately, someone opened the box and went, "Oh, that's interesting. We'll make use of that," and they probably shouldn't have done. So always be aware that it's not just your business, your suppliers can also have an impact on the way your business works and is perceived.
Okay, that's very good. And Kevin, what would be your tip of the week?
My tip of the week is if you're interested in doing customer satisfaction, you've got online presence, check out surveymonkey.com. excuse me, they've got some great templates there, asking some good questions that if you target those more, they're quite generic, but if they target some of those more specifically to your business, you have a great way of collecting online feedback from customers in a simple, clear channel that you have visibility and control of.
Okay. And Alan, what's your tip of the week?
Yeah, actually, I like the what Kevin came up with there. I've used SurveyMonkey a lot in the past, and it's a very simple, easy to use tool. But what I would say is that the tip of the week is, I would say, remember, reputations are built over years, but they can be lost very, very quickly. So just because you think you've got a good reputation or people like what you're doing, don't get complacent. It doesn't stop there. You've got to keep and maintain that reputation.
Yeah. Okay. My tip of the week is to make sure that you've got the proper processes and procedures in place. Even if you're just a one-man person or two-man organisation or something like that, that when something goes wrong, you know how to put it right. Because if you put it right quickly and efficiently, you will get much more positive response from the people who have made the complaint, because they will talk about how great you were at solving the issue and reaching some sort of deal that was satisfactory to both parties with them. Okay, and that's the end of this week's Marketing Gem. We hope you've enjoyed it. You can, as I said, contact us through the Marketing Gem. The Twitter accounts for the three panelists today will also appear on the bottom of the video feed, on video page on YouTube. As I said, sorry it's 24 hours late. We have had a few technical issues, but it's time to say cheerio. So, Kevin?
At KLynchK on Twitter, if anyone wants to reach out to me.
Okay, and Jonathan?
Remember to watch next week.
Okay, and Alan?
Yes, looking forward to it. I hope people have got a lot out of today. I certainly enjoy doing these, and if people can learn from what we're saying and the information we're passing on to them, that's great. And just one final thing is that my Twitter handle's at B2B Growth.
Okay, and that's great. And with that, I will say cheerio. So thank you very much for watching.